months ago, I reviewed the Realme 6. But this is, if you like, the successor to that, the Realme 6 Pro. And this is a device that a lot of you have been asking me about. So over the last couple of weeks, I've been playing around with this. And in this video, I want to talk to you about my time spent with the Realme 6 Pro. But first, let's show you what you get inside the actual box. To begin with, you get the normal stuff that we've come to expect from Realme, which includes an included free silicone case and paperwork. And then inside the box, this is the important part, you're gonna get a VOOC 4.0 fast charge. Now I'll talk more about how that fast charge performs, but let me just tell you that you get a lot of battery power in a very short time. So that's included in the box. Plus, there is also the USB-C to standard USB charging cable that works with that fast charger. Next, let's talk about the device itself. So to begin with, it looks very similar in terms of design to the Realme 6, but there are some differences. On the back, there is that quad camera, which we'll talk more about in a moment, but you basically have this really nice style and design on the back, which is made out of Gorilla Glass 5. You also have Gorilla Glass on the front as well, and then that's sandwiched between a plastic frame. Now that plastic frame doesn't feel cheap in the hand. It still has a very premium build and feel quality when you're using this in the hand. So down at the bottom, you have a 3.5mm headphone jack, you have a USB-C charging port with the outward firing speakers. On the right hand side, you actually have just a single button. This is a power on off button, but it also doubles up as a fingerprint scanner as well, which is really easy to set up, but even easier to use. On the left hand side, we've got a volume rocker, and just above that is the SIM tray. Now on the front, you have a 6.6-inch IPS LCD display with a double cut out sort of punch hole design on the top left hand side. Now that houses the front facing camera. Again, we'll talk more about the cameras in a moment, but one of the other unique features about this display is the fact that it comes with a 90Hz refresh, and that is a really difficult to showcase on camera, but when you're using it in the flesh, you'll be able to tell it's such a difference from a standard 60Hz display, which is actually quite nice to use. Now, as well as that display is pretty comfortable. It's good in the hand, but it's also great for viewing content like YouTube, multimedia, playing games, all of the things that you would expect to use that display for. My only criticism of this display, particularly here in the Middle East, is that when you're out and about, sometimes that display can get lost under the bright sun. So a slightly brighter display would have helped in that regard. Next, let me talk about performance, because I've been quite impressed with how this has handled my performance. In terms of gaming, I've been playing PUBG, I've experimented with Call of Duty, a few other games, and multitasking, and it's actually held up quite well. This has inside it the Snapdragon 720G processor with the Adreno 618 GPU. Now, Snapdragon 720G we're seeing in quite a lot of current mid-range smartphones, and there's a good reason for that, because it's optimized for gaming and also for mobile platforms. So as a processor is concerned, I think you'll be in good hands with what the Realme 6 Pro has. This is paired up with 8GB of RAM on my model. You can also pick this up with 6GB, but honestly, if you're going to be playing games like PUBG, Call of Duty, and you just want a phone that will last longer, I think you should stick to that 8GB variation. So right out of the box, this is going to run Android 10 with a skin on top called Realme UI. Now Realme UI is a bit of a hit and miss with people. Some people have no issue with it, myself included, but there are some people that feel that there's a lot of bloatware that comes pre-installed on or using Realme UI. I think Realme UI has improved over the years. It is much more simpler now than what it used to be. And there is a certain level of customization that you can get with Realme UI, which might help users of Realme devices. So, I don't hate it. I'm not a big fan of it, but I think in the Realme 6 Pro, it seems to do a good job. Sticking to inside, you're going to get a 4,300 milliamp hour battery, which for the most part is going to be pretty good. I managed to get over a day's worth of use with my extensive use. That does go down a little when you're playing graphic intensive games like PUBG or Call of Duty, but I think most people will be more than happy with the battery life. But the big deal on this is that fast charging, that VOC charger that I spoke about at the beginning. That will give you a full charge from 0 to 100 in less than an hour. So in about 55 to 50 minutes, you should be able to get this fully charged, which means that, you don't need to worry too much about battery life, but when you do need that battery life, you'll be able to get that done quickly. So between the 6 Pro and the 6, one of the big standout features on the back is the camera module on the 6 Pro. So this has a quad camera setup, and it's essentially made up of a 64 megapixel main sensor, that's an f1.8, and then you get a 12 megapixel f2.5 telephoto with a 2x optical zoom. You get an 8 megapixel f2.3 ultra wide, and then a 2 megapixel f2.4 for the macro. Now, the camera on this is pretty decent for this price point. There are a couple of things. Number one, you don't have very many zoom options. It's pretty standard: ultra wide, 1x, 2x, and then 5x. So that's what you have to play with. Now, in terms of images, as you can see from some of the examples on the screen, it does take some pretty decent images, very similar to the kind of quality in terms of accuracy, vibrancy, saturation that we saw with the Realme 6. But I feel that the Realme 6 Pro just takes it up a slight notch, and you'll notice more of that quality in particularly the ultra wide, but also in the zoomed shots as well. Now, one other thing to note is that this does have a 64 megapixel main sensor. Shots taken with this are obviously larger files, but the detail is certainly there. Now, as standard, this doesn't take images in 64 megapixel form. It will bin those images down, but those images are still pretty good with lots of detail and lots of vibrancy. Night shots, particularly when you take them with the designated night mode, are going to give you some pretty decent results as well. I think, again, factoring the price point, the shots taken in night mode can be quite good, but do bear in mind that once you start zooming in, you are going to suffer in terms of noise and just a lot of loss of quality to the night mode images. So this is a little test to show you what 4K looks like on the Realme 6 Pro. This is available on the device. Unfortunately, you don't get 4K in ultra wide, so it's only going to be isolated to this 1x format. But let me know what you think about the quality of the audio, the color, the saturation, the accuracy, and also how it performs in terms of focus as well. Did a good job there. Let's go back there. It does a reasonable job there, but let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Now, if you like taking selfies, then you'll be happy to know on the front-facing dual selfie camera, you have a 16 megapixel f2.1 with an 8 megapixel f2.2 ultra wide. That basically gives you better overall shots with more depth, particularly in portrait mode, but also it's useful when you've got more people, more subjects in the front shot, and that will be better in terms of detail. Now, as far as that, you've also got video at 1080p with 30 frames per second. I really enjoyed spending time with the Realme 6 Pro because Realme 6 Pro summarizes what Realme as a brand and as a company can do so well. Consistent, good quality specs at a very competitive price point. This is one of the reasons why the Realme 6 Pro is one of the leading mid-range smartphones on the market. It's one of the reasons why so many of you have been asking me to get this on the channel. And I can concur that really what it offers is a whole lot of specs for a very, very competitive price point. If I was to pick mistakes with this at this price point, which would be very difficult to do, I would just like to see an improved camera, particularly in low light, and more control over the zoom. As well as that, on the front display, sometimes that dual selfie cutout on the top left-hand side can kind of distract from an all-screen experience. But those are really minor points when you factor in just how what a bargain the Realme 6 Pro is. You can pick this up in most markets for a very, very good price. Here in the UAE, this is just going to be over 1,000 dirhams, depending on where you are and what variation you go for. I'll post a link down below to the relevant sites, the official sites, where you can see the full pricing information. But still, the Realme 6 Pro offers an incredible amount of spec at this mid-range price point. Let me know what you guys think about the Realme 6 Pro. Are you tempted to pick this up? Have you picked this up? What are your thoughts about this device? Leave them in the comment section down below. Plus, if you're new around here, join me to see more video content like this. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit like, and until next time, I'm EMKWAN. I'll see you in the next video. Peace and blessings.